wins as well. But the women on the 1 metre springboard this evening will be luckily not as exposed to those winds as divers competing on the 10 metre earlier on today, where Tom and Dan won that gold medal. Matthew and Noah won the silver. So eyes down then for the first final of this evening, women's 1 metre springboard final. Opening up is 15-year-old Kimberly Bong of Malaysia. She's in the final thanks to a mistake from New Zealand's Elizabeth Q. She's been in 2 Commonwealth finals so far these games.
She opened up in this very same fashion in the prelim this morning. She was start number 1 this morning, qualified in the final spot, as Kat was just explaining. A little bit of luck on her side, and this is her best dive. She opens with it. Upright entry, hardly any splash. Kimberly Bong has smoked it again.
7s across the board, 7.5s for Kimberly. 12 divers in this final, 5 dives each, and every dive counts. Michaela Buta, 2.4 degree difficulty inward, 1.5 somersaults in pike.
Another 403B, inward 1.5 in the pike position, just 2.4 degree of difficulty, like for like, with start number 1, Kimberly Bong. Pretty much on the money, similarly executed, and therefore almost identical scores.
You'll be seeing 7 of those 403B dives, the inward 1.5 somersaults in this opening round. Nicole Gillis qualified in 10th position, had a bit of an up and down preliminary this morning. A very mixed bag, I think it's fair to say. Back 1.5 somersaults in pike.
Well, she does a nice job of controlling that. Saw lots of entries going over and short in the prelims, particularly on this dive. Using her feet a little bit as she goes into the water, which is a shame because she'd have been on for 7.5s and 8s if she'd have been a little bit neater.
As it is, 6.5s and 7s, 47.15, so a little off that magical 50 marker. Shea Boddington of New Zealand, amazing to see her in the final. She's had 13 years away from diving as she battled bulimia, but she wanted to take some videos to show her 3-year-old daughter what she used to do and fell in love with it all over again.
And she was doing some great dives this morning. Just one of her rounds let her down ever so slightly. So Shea, at the age of 31, with that massive break from the sport, certainly New Zealand's best hope, or only hope here, because of course her teammate didn't make it through. And I'm looking across all the events, solid diving, even one of the judges thinking that was worth an 8.
Great start for the oldest woman in the competition and the only mother competing as well. Jasmine Lai of Malaysia with the same dive, 2.4 degree of difficulty inward, 1.5 somersaults in pike.
Just getting after the takeoff, maybe with a little bit too much eagerness, snapping into the dive and then tucking the chin in and over-rotating, having to do a little bit of a fix on the bottom, trying to give the impression it wasn't over-rotating, but the judges aren't that easily fooled, are they, Kat? Let's have a look. Oh, some of them saw it 6.5, some of them were a little bit more favourable at 7.5. That's why we average it out. That's why we get 7s to take away.
7s aren't so bad. for Jasmine Lai. Here is Noor Dabita Sabri, a 3-time Commonwealth Game medalist, 2 of those bronzes here on the Gold Coast in the 3 metre and 10 metre synchros. She's diving everything, this girl. Same dive for her, inward 1.5 somersaults.
Yeah, she's made of tough stuff. Here every morning, every evening, in some way, shape or form. Training and mostly competing in every event that is available here. Backing away from the diving board ever so slightly. Other than that, straight up and down, like for like.
Yeah, but slightly better. 7.5 in there. Do you know what? It's the 15-year-old Malaysian who's leading the way.
Wow, Kimberly Bong's out in front.
She is. Grace Reid of Scotland then. A medal would not be out of the question for Grace. European winner in 2016 in the mixed synchro. She opens with a back 1.5 somersaults, 2.3 degree of difficulty.
Very nice from Grace. I knew she had a gear to crank it up into, and that is showing all of the signs that she's awake, ready to go, upgrading from her opening dive this morning. I'd say that's worth an 8. The judges say 7.5 to count.
And an 8.
1.8 to count. Good.
52.90, pushing over that 50 marker then and into the lead for Scotland's Grace Reid. Just where we expected to be. Kat Torrance then already won a silver in the 3 metre synchro at these games, and the British champion on the 1 metre springboard as well. She opens with the same dive, back 1.5 somersaults, 2.3 degree of difficulty.
Well, Kat is incredibly strong, powerful, agile. She certainly gives it some beans on this takeoff. Probably a little bit too much. You can see her there drifting over. Just a little less aggression, and she would have got the dive slipping into the water nicely. So marginally lower score than Grace, but still good enough to keep her bunched up with the rest of the ladies.
Yeah, it's tight at the top, just 2 points in it between 1st and 5th. Alicia Blagg, Kat's synchro partner, already with a silver medal in the bag. And she starts with a 2.4 degree of difficulty, inward 1.5 somersault.
Nice from Alicia, just marginally over rotating. It's good balance, it's a great shape. This superb all the way, just stuck in the chin, rolling over marginally. Otherwise she'd have been on for 9s. I can just keep holding some 8s. Let's have a look, yeah.
And that's a big lead for Alicia after this opening round of dives. 56.40, Grace Reid behind a 52. So while the margins are fine, some extra points in the bag there for Alicia. Julia Vincent of South Africa didn't make it to the final in Rio in the 3 metre, but here she is in the 1 metre final at the Commonwealths. She's doing the same dive as Alicia, inward 1.5 somersaults in pike.
Qualifying a little further upfield than maybe we would have expected her to see her even. So having a good prelim, pressure's on, maybe faltering ever so slightly there. This was a great dive for her earlier, and now she's just a little bit behind the pace of the front runners, only slightly. That's all it takes.
Speaking of front runners, these two will be pushing the English girls and Grace Reid of Scotland all the way. Georgia Sheehan, first of 2 Australians to round off this first round, with the same dive, inward 1.5 somersaults in pike, 2.4 degree of difficulty, and in the mix for a second gold medal of these games.
Yeah, I really like her diving. She's tall, she's quite leggy, so she looks very aesthetically pleasing, certainly in the pike position, which means the judges will view favourably as well. The only thing that's let her down here is that ducking of the chin and causing that tip of an over-rotation. So over from vertical. So what are we looking at? Slightly less than 8s?
Yeah, 7.5s and a 7, 52.80. That is exactly the same score as the 15-year-old Kimberly Bong. Still in the mix. Esther Chin, gold in the 3-metre synchro with Georgia. Won the bronze medal 4 years ago in Glasgow on the 1 metre. Inward 1.5 somersaults.
A little bit panicky on the exit for a dive there. Great takeoff as per usual. And then she thinks, oh, I'm spinning a little bit quick. I need to reach forward here. So she reaches forward a little bit too much and realises that she isn't going to make it, so then has to duck in. So it's a little bit of a shimmy to try and get the dive in, and our leader of top seed is languishing down at the bottom of the pack.
Not the opening dive that Esther would have wanted, but look at that. So Alicia Black of England with a cushion of just under 4 points ahead of Grace Reed from Scotland. 15-year-old Kimberly Bong in the mix with the gold medalist already at these games, Georgia Sheehan. And Kat Torrance down in 7th. Work to do for Kat. Esther Chin right at the bottom of the heap, not where you would expect.
And all support each other as well. A good dive is a good dive. Doesn't matter where you're from. You always get a cheer and an applause.
Kimberly Bong then of Malaysia, the 15-year-old, up in the mix, 3rd place.
Wow, Kimberly leaving it all till the final, the 1 metre. She may be hustling us with her prelim performance. Coming straight out with another corker.
And that's a 2.6 degree of difficulty dive as well, so big points on the board.
Yeah, more points. 2.6 isn't that high, but we are on the 1 metre. And it's probably as high as it's going to get. Another 53, 7s to go. Big smiles from Kimberly Bong.
No surprise of the big smiles. Very mature first couple of dives from the teenager. And it's the same dive for Michaela Buta of South Africa. Currently in 8th. Fractured her toe in February, so she has been out of training coming into these games.
She did well there, a little bit back from the end of the diving board, and I was just wincing then. A fractured toe, that's not easy to recover from, let alone if you're going to be barefoot on a springboard. Imagine that would take a while to get back. She's in this final, even though she was back from the end there, still had enough time to complete the dive. So the scores on your screen now. So slightly less than our opening diver, Kimberly Bong.
And here's her countrywoman, Nicole Gillis, with a reverse 1.5 somersaults in pike, 2.4 degree of difficulty. Currently in 11th.
Well, just hanging on to a pike shape, a fraction too long. On the end of the diving board, all good, and should have let go there, and instead she tips over, loses her feet. The judges are sitting just 1.5 meters away from that springboard, and so they're right on them, and right on the divers, so there's nowhere to hide.
And detailed debrief with the coach. Shea Boddington then for New Zealand, a full 5 years older than all the other competitors in this field, making her return to diving after 13 years away to recover from bulimia. back 1.5 somersaults in pike, 3.2 degree of difficulty. She says it's a dream come true to be at these Commonwealth Games.
It's a good takeoff. There's great poise, confidence. Very easy to just make a slight error. That's exactly what we see there as she lets go a little bit early. You can see Steve Penning, a little bit disappointed. The coach was just in shock. Grimace says it all. It was all there. And just over-rotated.
Yeah, just 5.5s for Shea Boddington of New Zealand. Jasmine Lai, 2.6 degree of difficulty this one. Forward 2.5 somersaults in pike.
Wow, just showing you how complicated these dives are. Don't be fooled by low degree of difficulty. Any of you at home have been off a diving board, just trying to get in head first could be treacherous, let alone fitting in spins and flips. As these women are performing, Jasmine Lai making an error there. As you can see, lots of splash being thrown up, the judges taking it to school, and she goes away with very low marks indeed, 4.5s to count. Ouch.
Fins and slips for those of us who can't dive off.
Fins and slips.
Fins and slips,
Yeah.
not spins and flips. Noor Dabita Sabri of Malaysia with the same dive. And a class above her countrywoman, Sabri. So we can compare like for like.
Well,
Yeah.
it's almost identical. That would have been a perfect synchro dive, wouldn't it? Both divers losing their way, landing way over a vertical. So Sabri joins Jasmine Lai, slipping right off the pace.
Yeah, and you'd have thought maybe that Sabri would have been up there in contention, perhaps, with a good performance this evening, but that 39 is really going to do her
Costly.
some damage.
Yeah, has done already. Already logged. Damage done.
Scribbled out on Leon's sheet.
This woman, however, has it all to play for.
Scotland's Grace Reid. Her second Commonwealth Games. Reverse 1.5 somersaults, 2.4 degree of difficulty. Currently in silver medal position.
Yeah, that's going to help as well. Reverse 1.5 somersaults in the pike position. She cannot put a foot wrong. She's lower on DD than some of her competitors, so every dive she needs to do needs to score 8s and above. Now that will sneak 8s from the judges. She's so high, so strong, so powerful. She has such presence. A lovely, lovely human being. And I hope she continues to dive like this, because she will be putting pressure firmly on all of her fellow competitors.
Including Kat Torrance, who would hope to be further up the rankings than 7th, where she is currently after the first round of dives. Reverse 1.5 somersaults in pike, 2.4 degree of difficulty. The same dive as Grace.
Oh, she's well, just maybe a little overcautious there. She cranks it up, such is her style, so it's a really good spin.
Great height, look
yeah,
at that.
huge height. Comes out early, just a touch too early. Now, one thing I will say is she's a little tight to the diving board. I won't want to see her any closer than that, because as she reaches back with her hand, she could come in touching distance, which is a real mess, and we
She
don't want
was
to
in
see that.
prelims as well, wasn't she? Quite tight to the
A little bit, yeah.
diving board a couple of
Yeah.
times. So just 6s for Kat. Work to do.
Alicia.
Our current leader for Team England, with a back 1.5 somersaults in pike, 2.3 degree of difficulty, to hold on to that gold medal position in these early stages.
Oh, spectator's curse right there. From the leader to somewhat lacking. Ouch. Takeoff is good. Not quite sure where the water is. Gives it a good chest open and pull. And over she blows. That is costly.
Could that be a medal blown then
Yes.
for Alicia Blagg? Yep, 4s, 4.5s, 28. That's a shame.
Just don't have the DD to make huge leaps back as we've seen in some of the other contests. This is all 2.2, 2.4, 2.6, so there's nothing.
There's no big gun to fall back on. Julia Vincent of South Africa.
Wow, she's coming out all guns blazing. Seeing Alicia falter before her may have had a positive effect, thinking, right, the door is ajar. I can now make a little bit of a play. This is my highest degree of difficulty at 2.6. And she has put it in for 7s. That's very good. A surprise seed, if you will, that high up on the rankings. Maybe a 1 meter specialist.
Who knew?
Who knew? She did. Back in the jacuzzi.
Georgia Sheehan then of Australia. The two Australians, crowd favourites of course, to wrap up this second round of dives. Listen to their cheers. Forward 2.5 somersaults, 2.6 degree of difficulty for Georgia. Who's one of the faces of the games out here. You see her on the TV, on adverts and billboards.
Well, she's okay. Takeoff was good. She does a little bit of magic on the bottom to stop it from crashing over. Back from the end. Ducks her chin in a bit too much, and then Pike saves it. Oh, I don't think she's going to get 7s.
No 7s in there, just 6.5s for Georgia. Shows, flings the chamois into the jacuzzi there. Heat of the competition perhaps getting to her, as it is for Esther Chin. At least it was in the first round, right down in last place. For Esther, who you'd expect to be up there contending the gold medal. Forward 2.5 somersaults, 2.6 degree of difficulty again.
Oh, Esther way back from the end of the diving board. Oh, she almost took off by the fulcrum, which is the wheel that you use to adjust the distance. Look at that. She's a country mile back from the end, stabs the board, struggles to make that round. Our top seed is, well, she's moved up off bottom, but only slightly.
Perhaps the Aussies feeling the pressure from this almost capacity crowd here this evening. Look at that. 49.40, just 6.5 to 6 in there. She is up into 6th from 12th. But look at that. Grace Reid of Scotland with a 3-point cushion at the top. Tight though for bronze and silver, just 1/10 of a point in it between Julia Vincent and Kimberly Ball. Kat Torrance in 7th. She's got some work to do to keep up the pace, as has Alicia Blagg. Her medal chances blown with that second round dive, I'm afraid.